From Cleveland 19 News, the McDonald's Sports Zone with Bernie Kosar and Tony Zarrella starts now.
Oh, it starts now, all right. And stop me if you've heard this movie before or seen this movie before. I mean, a week ago, the Browns work overtime. They come away with a win, and we're thinking we got something. They go to overtime again today, Bernie. And I don't know about you, but to me, it got away when Kiki Mingo gives him the ball on the 39-yard line, and you not only don't go forward and kick the game-winning field goal, you go backwards, and you could almost see it coming.
That's one drastic, very important point of the game that happened today for sure. Unfortunately, there were so many of those. And for it being basically 16 years since the team has come back, to basically be so repetitive about the same mistakes. It's okay in life to make mistakes, but to make the same ones time after time after time. I mean, I'm the concussed one. This is amazing that we make these mistakes and don't take advantage of it. I mean, how rarely do you get a Peyton Manning to play a game like he played today and not take advantage of it and not win the game? That was our game today. I haven't felt this bad, and I didn't play.
And we seem to say this a lot. Let me ask you a question. I asked this earlier to different guys. What's our identity at this point, 6 games in? You know, you look at the Broncos. They come in, and the Broncos did what they do well. They're going to get to the quarterback. They did 4 times. They're probably going to take one back like a pick 6. They did that today. They did what they do. What do we do?
Yeah, that is a big issue for, again, 16 years. We haven't had an identity that we can lay our hands on and definitively say this is who we are. And that lack of identity, that lack of clarity, really, I think, plays a part, again, from the top down. You have to have an identity. You have to have a personality. And I really like to sit here today and sound intelligent, but I can't claim what that is. And I don't think the players and coaches can either.
Especially in crunch time. I mean, McCown's going to have a couple of 300-yard games. Okay, today, not even close. Completed half his passes. It's not all on him, but he, as many interceptions as touchdowns today. My point being that then in crunch time, when you have to deliver, teams dig into their identity and they say, we're going to do this because this is what we do well.
And this is who we are. And you have to stand for something. You're exactly 100% right. And again, when do you catch a Peyton Manning on an off day like this? Yes, it was terrible in the first half. But I even tweeted out and I called you at 3:35 today, the wind stopped blowing. And as court, I don't like to give all my tricks away for what I used to do in Cleveland Stadium, but it tends at times in the mid to late afternoons on windy days to stop. And that's, if you notice, Peyton figured it out. And again, 3:35, I went outside, I'm throwing grass up there, I'm feeling the wind, and I'm licking my fingers, I'm seeing how the wind is going, and I noticed that it stopped. And if you notice then, Peyton picked up on it and probably threw, the Emmanuel Samuels.
Sanders thing went for 75.
Sanders thing went for 75. He probably attempted 5 or 6 others.
He was going downfield more to Demaryius Thomas, who dropped 2, thankfully.
Thankfully,
he would have had a 200-yard day.
Or the game wouldn't even went to overtime. I mean, it's rare that a receiver of that quality has such big mistakes. But they really gave us so many chances to win today that literally I'm sick.
Okay, I want one play from the first half is all we're going to do, okay, because it summed it up. And we're going to end up breaking this down later on the big board, so you don't have to get too technical here, Bernie. But, I mean, Josh McCown, in fairness, is not the first and won't be the last quarterback victimized by this phenomenal Denver defense. But that was brutal.
That was it, neutralized out by Peyton throwing a pick 6 himself. But there are basic rules, and again, in the first half today, when it was very windy, these crafty corners now, they know how to squat on balls, they know how to jump routes, and if you do not run your route correctly, And again, from the U, I like to stick up for our guys. But Travis, do not drift away on a hitch route. Drift backwards or towards the sidelines. Always, young receivers, please listen to this, remember this. You come back to the football. You come towards the quarterback. You come towards the ball. A basic principle of catching the ball and running routes. You do not drift away from it if you think you're open. And there's a whole set of philosophical beliefs when we get to the telestrator that we can go over on three-step drops and what defensive backs are taught.
All right, let's get to the second half here. We didn't see Gary Barnidge in the first half, didn't catch a pass. Second half, he catches 3 balls, 2 of those for touchdowns. The first one finally gets the Browns going here, puts them on the board. So now they're within a field goal, and now it's a tight game again, and we're thinking, okay, at least Josh has found his guy, and he would find him again a little bit later on. This was in the 4th, and this time he cuts to the middle of the field in the end zone and pulls in his second touchdown pass. Now, some of the good. Carlos Dansby was strong today. He picked Peyton Manning off on the first series of the game, and then here in the 4th, off the deflection, takes that back to the house 35 yards. Actually, that was our first lead of the game. We can debate the 2-point conversion attempt if you want. I don't know how that would have played out in the end, but Bernie comes right back on the next play and hits us for 75 right there. McCown, good and bad. I mean, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Throws that up. I don't know what that was.
That bothered me, but it didn't bother me. Again, at Tailgate 19 today, we talked about it was not easy conditions, especially in the first half. The wind, it made throwing the ball real hard, made playing defense extremely easier. I sent you the call. Me and Tony talked at like 3:35 today, and I actually sent out a tweet again about how the wind actually calmed down and opened up the field. Our defense did not change to the change in weather conditions. Peyton did. Peyton then started throwing outside our DBs, and people started thinking it was going to be quick, fast, inside breaking routes over the middle. And when the wind stopped, Peyton, knowing that that's what they were expecting, went outside and went deep. And I got to give on a positive note, though, the Gary Barnidge, again, they knew we were going to throw him the ball, and they knew that that's a focus of our offense. It was not easy at certain points of the game to throw him the ball because it was windy there. I give Coach DeFilippo good credit for coming up with a couple of good plays to kind of isolate him to come up with those touchdown passes. And Josh made excellent throws on both of those TDs.
Yeah, I agree with that. When we come back, we're going to the big board to break this play down. I love this segment. Stick around. The McDonald's Sports Zone continues right after this.
The McDonald's Sports Zone will be right back.
Extremely disappointing. I mean, to be on the brink of a heck of a win and to not be able to finish it, it's a tough deal. You know, look in the players' faces. You just see the disappointment.
All right, that was Mike Patton, obviously, after the game. Paul Kruger said this could have been a season changer if they had won. They didn't. Same old story. I want to go back to the pick six. Listen, Talib's phenomenal. Okay, the Denver defense has been doing this to quarterbacks all year. But what did Benjamin do wrong on this play?
Talib is a phenomenal DB. He does guess a lot. He does take chances. And remember, again, not to take credit, but in the Tailgate 19 show, we spoke extensively about the wind out there today. And in the first half, it was incredibly windy. And cornerbacks, defensive backs, they really do try to squat and jump on balls. And there's a coaching technique that the coaches use where on 3-step drops, so if the quarterback's taking 3 steps, it's typically one of 3 routes. It's the quick out, the takeoff, or the slant. Okay, in bad weather, in windy weather, odds are it's probably going to be one of the 2 shorter ones. So the cornerback, he squats on it. So when Talib sees Josh do the 3-step drop, he completely squats on it. Now, Travis, you're having an amazing year, and You're from the U, so you get special dispensation from me on Sunday. But so help me God, receivers, and for you young kids out there, please, you never drift a little bit away from the ball. Even if you think you're open, thou must always come back to the football. Okay, and that stupid little 2 feet, 1 yard, whatever that was, that difference is the difference between a pick six TD or you coming back to the ball and he runs through your back for pass interference. You must always come back to the ball on outside routes, outside the numbers. That is God, that's a commandment to me.
You and Jared Vicious called it on Tailgate this morning. We saw it play out, obviously, in the game today. When we come back, we're going to take you on a trip to the Caribbean and show you what kind of an impact Bernie and some friends are making.
Now, back to the McDonald's Sports Zone.
One of the things we like to do on this program is take you off the field and show you the impact people can make, whether it's locally or globally. And it's amazing the power that they can wield when a Catholic priest, an Ohio politician, and a Pro Bowl quarterback get together. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, these pictures tell a dramatic story. The story of how a few good men can change lives in one of the poorest countries in the world.
People would say, well, there's poor in Cleveland, and there's poor in, in Boston, and poor in New York. Not this kind of poor. Not this kind of poor. There's difference between, I learned that down in Haiti, there's difference between there's poverty and misery. This is misery, it really is.
Father Tom Hagen founded Hands Together 2 decades ago, and Doug Campbell quickly joined him. The first mission, food, but a close second, education. Hands Together has built so many schools for these children who had none. They're now up to 8 campuses. They also provide jobs, help the elderly, and recently built a turf field soccer pitch.
And a lot of people sometimes kind of didn't understand why we're dedicating so much resources to build an artificial turf field in the poorest slum in the world. You got to remember, this slum, the United Nations did a study, and they went around and they looked at the different slums around the world. It's the most violent place on earth, they called it. And 2 years ago, they wrote up a study on this. And so to make that happen is literally, a gargantuan task. And a lot of people say, this can't be done. There's too much violence, too many gangs, too many guys, too many politics. There's no police, there's no justice system. It's not possible. And I said, we're going to build it. So we sit down with the different gang leaders and the different guys all over, and we work together. And it took 1.5 years, but we built it. And you're right, it's a safe place. It's permanent. You can't pick it up and steal it and walk away with it like they do half the other stuff. And it says something to the kids. For the first time in these kids' lives, it says, "You're worthwhile. We believe in you. You're important to us." And that can't, the hope that transfers in the community. You can't measure that.
But other images hit you even harder. 2 days ago, students forced to hit the ground amid gunfire at their school. This is the harsh reality these kids face. These are the horrors that Hands Together tries to tackle every day.
To try to help these kids who have now gone through earthquakes, gone through just in the last 3-4 months, a hurricane and a tropical storm, and to have them have no hope in life, to have no goals, no opportunities to better themselves. This is kind of what makes me proud to be able to go out there, and when people have kind of criticized me for dissipating my assets or giving away money that maybe I shouldn't have, and you see the amount of real children that you give hope to, that you give an opportunity to.
That's great stuff, Bernie.
Wow.
That's great stuff.
I got to tell you, we did the field at East 46th in Scoville a few weeks ago.
Here in Cleveland.
Here in Cleveland. And giving, they used a similar word in Haiti like we do here in Cleveland, and we call it a safe zone. And if you think about it, it's the year 2015, and kids can't feel safe. And to develop areas, whether it's East 46th Street for the kids to have an opportunity to play sports and do their homework and have some camaraderie and have friends, or in Haiti, where it's amazing after the earthquakes. Again, I don't do good with some of this emotional stuff and don't want to start crying during it, but they have so many challenges there where they don't have their families, they don't have parents, where you'll have 3 or 4, 7, 8-year-olds get together and they take turns sleeping so the others don't get eaten by rats. I mean, they eat mud sandwiches, and here we are complaining. And I feel bad even for myself today. I mean, I'm in a bad mood because the Browns lost, okay? And I'm really, I mean, how wrong am I?
I want to tell, and you joined forces with these gentlemen through Mike DeWine. I mentioned the Ohio politician. Mike DeWine is actually the one that introduced you to Father Hagen, I believe.
Yeah, Father Tom Hagen, he's a saint. He's a saint. Doug Campbell, who you saw in the interview. But a lot of credit goes to Mike DeWine and his beautiful wife, Fran. They started this almost 20 years ago, and it's the personal situation that will definitely make me cry if I say it.
I understand.
But Mike DeWine, our Attorney General, is doing and will continue to do, him and Fran, a phenomenal job with kids and youth and just trying to give them hope. Because that's the one thing I think sometimes we take for granted in our country, is that we have hope, we have opportunity, we have a chance. Here, I'm 51, I have a chance. All I've done is football. What a great opportunity that is for me. These kids have no concept of hope. They have no concept of opportunity. And here we are giving them, or trying to give them, a chance to have some hope, to have a future, to have some opportunity.
Great stuff.
Awesome.
Thanks. The McDonald's Sports Zone continues with much more right after this. Stick around.
The McDonald's Sports Zone will be right back. Now, a look at sports from across the country. It's the University of Akron Zip Around Sports.
All right, back here on the Sports Zone. I want to start in Pittsburgh, where Michael Vick goes down. Let's get right to this. And Landry Jones comes in, and I mean, the Steelers just roll on and knock off a team that was throwing up 40 a game, by the way. They held them to 13. Jones got crushed on that touchdown pass, by the way.
Yeah, Landry Jones from Oklahoma actually gets his first NFL snaps today. And again, Pittsburgh, and I'm a big fan of Coach Tomlin. They have a good, cohesive unit organization. The Rooney family, who actually goes to the Gilmore High School here in Cleveland. A little shout out to them. But how they operate, how they physically stick together, how their unification is definitely a goal of us in Cleveland. We need to get to that point.
Yeah, well, yes, we do. And after this game, I'm looking, obviously, I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm saying, here they go again. They're 4-2. Okay, they lost Roethlisberger, then they lost their second-string quarterback today. Yet they knock off the Arizona Cardinals, who have been on fire, averaging 40 a game, it seems. And anyway, they're 4-2. The Bengals are off to an incredible start. You know where I'm going with this. Other than the Ravens being a bad team this year, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. The Steelers are right there, 4-2, without Ben.
Again, it almost is like the first segment where we said, in the first segment we actually did of the season of the movie Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray. The same day is repetitive every day. We are doing this again. And until we have a cultural, systemic change, and until we have a philosophical philosophy that is truly that old school physical, no excuses football, and technically sound, just like we did on the telestrator. That is a common commandment that, again, I feel bad actually saying things like this after the previous segment we just did. But I take football entirely too seriously, and there's a systemic overall culture that thou must have to consistently win.
Okay, Lions won a game today. That's our last stop here because, you know, I'm a big Matt Stafford guy, by the way. Can't believe they were winless. He threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns today.
When I was announcing the games, the Browns always played Detroit. One of the few guys that I would come early to the stadium and watch him just throw balls 3 hours before the game to Calvin Johnson. Matthew Stafford's arm, the way he throws it, Megatron, is incredibly impressive. You're seeing Jay Cutler right there. I know he's been much maligned.
Yeah.
I love the way he throws the football too. And those two guys would be great guys to work with.
We got about 40 seconds left. You've worked with Cutler. We've talked about this before. What's missing from him? What's keeping him from being a top 10 quarterback? If you could do that in 25 seconds.
I think I could do that in less than 25 seconds. Is that there's certain people that were put on this earth to throw bombs, and Jay Cutler and Matthew Stafford are two of those people. Jay Cutler, at the end of my career, my arm started going. We talked about this with Peyton Manning. The arm started going. Those two guys, they should throw bombs. With the new rules today, they should throw them.
So they haven't unleashed them.
Gate.
They haven't unleashed them. That's the problem.
Correct.
All right, Bernie Kosar, great job as always, buddy. See you next week on the Tailgate and the McDonald's Sports Zone. Thanks for watching, everybody.